Let's get it.
Community Beacon, Fridays at 6:30 EST, with your hosts Michaeldseville and Joel Simmons. A channel whose focus is liberty. A place where the lessons discussed and taught will create openings to a more open and freer mindset. A mindset where you may reach the height of your potential and excel. Here are your hosts, Mike and Joel.
We are here. We are here. Ladies and gentlemen. Let's start. We have a couple of antics. We can do this all day, folks. But we're gonna get right into it. We got a short show today. You know, we got to get some things done, get things moving, get the logistics right. This is pre-recorded for a lot of you guys who are going to be watching this tomorrow at 6:30. It's Friday, 6:30, Community Beacon. We are here. We are making it happen. And we appreciate you guys for checking in. I'm Mike Seville. If you don't know who I am at this point in time, I'm Mike Seville. I'm your real estate guy here in South Florida. And I'm enjoying my time here. And of course, we got on the other side, we got the co-host with the most, my brother from another mother. The Tenacity Foundation, the motivatorpreneur.
Yeah. Strike out right there.
Joe, so I have to get ready because I know at some point in time, I'm going to be introducing you to crowds of 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 sold out crowds, etc. And I got to make sure that, the introduction, is halfway as decent as the man is. So, guys, we got this guy. What's going on, brother? How are you?
Man, I just want to tell you, I appreciate that. And I'm going to hold you to that. I'm serious about that. I'm going to hold you to it because, man, it just can't, you're part of the beginning of this individual that the people see in front of them, the motivatorpreneur. Like I said on one of the last shows, I'll let you all know. My wife just told me I can't let you all know when I hit that mill. So I don't know. I might not be able to. I might have to go back and retract that statement. If y'all hadn't seen it yet, I might have to take it out because my wife told me, Yeah. So anyway, listen. Glad to be in here. The place to be is with my brother, the real estate king, Michaeldseville, the business mogul. Hey. All right, I'm ready to get this thing going. Community in the house.
That's when the caffeine kicks in. The caffeine kicks in right about there.
Caffeine.
You just energetic on life. Life is giving you the extra boost it needs. That's all you need, really. You need life, experience in life. Life will get you there, man. I'm glad to see you in good spirits over there, brother. Let's get into the housekeeping, guys. Remember, guys, Monday, 9:00. It starts. It starts with me. It's not. It starts with me. It's what it takes. What it takes on Mondays. I'm going over some real estate. I'm going over some business, some clarity moments. I mean, I'm having a ball on it. Guys, check me out Mondays at 9:00. That show drops. Of course, on Wednesdays, we have It Starts With Who. And I was really thinking about that this morning on my drive back from the gym. It starts with me. Like, I mean, that the title alone is a gem when you really think about it, brother. But who do you have showing up on Wednesday this at 12:30?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we have Lisa Masello. All right. She's a business owner, author, and champion of women's advancement and entrepreneurship. She is the founder and chief marketing officer of TechMark Labs and a strategic marketing firm that works with her clients in the tech industry. As an author, Lisa shares the knowledge she has gained over her 30-year marketing career to write nonfiction business books. Her current book for marketers and small business owners is Trade Show 411, The Essential Guide to Exhibiting Like a Pro. She is awesome, great conversation, and she's going to deliver it. Y'all be there or be square.
Love it. Be there or be square. I had a chance to check out the last episode that dropped Wednesday at 12:30, and I believe it was James Heppinger. I want to say, hopefully I'm pronouncing your name right. And I mean, this guy he did a story in regards to, dealing with depression. And he got into that story. And at first I thought he was reading from a book. Like it was so dramatic, but I mean, it was just like, oh my gosh. And, I want to talk about that for a little bit, because I know some people may not necessarily have seen that show. But I mean, it was just like a lot of us are out here dealing with some sort of depression. And this guy spoke about dealing with it for about 2 years. And it took him going to, I believe it was that the Tony Robbins event is what he spoke about on the show. And those events are so powerful because they force like a shift. Because one of the things that happens during depression is that you get into a loop of just doing the same thing over and over again. Your body can get into it. Then you become tired and you don't want to do anything outside of the ordinary. It was just this cyclical thing that was going on, and it took him going, and he almost did it at the Tony Robbins event as well. He said he spoke. Right. Yeah, he said his wife was like, hey, she was excited about it, and I'm gonna let him tell it, because that relationship and dynamic between him and his wife, like I mean, it's always powerful to have a person there that supports you, even though, especially during those times. And he just spoke about it, and he got that shift in, and man, it was an awesome show. So guys, if you haven't had a chance to check out It Starts With Me, every time I get a chance to tune in to some of these shows, the brother is interviewing some very interesting people. So guys, check out It Starts With Me, 12:30. That last episode, James Heppinger, I believe.
Hepner.
Heppinger, is that what it was?
Hepner.
Excuse me. So Hepner. So check him out. That was the part 2, is the one that I got a chance to see. So definitely go check it out. And of course, of course we culminated the week with a Community Beacon Fridays at 6:30. We've been talking about improving our relationships in business and being successful in relationships and business, and the different things that we're doing. And last week we spoke about the different processes that we have. This week, we're going to get into communication and knowledge. It's October the 21st, the third week of October. We're already in the fourth quarter. How are we going to be improving that with communication and knowledge, brother?
I love that. As a matter of fact, I was thinking about James' story as a great segue, because you started to mention about his relationship with his wife. And, I don't want to spoil the story. Y'all go back and check out that episode. But there was a certain type of dynamic that happened between him and his wife. And because of, what they did, what they allowed, there was movement. And that movement ended up putting him in a position where he was able to change his life. And so that's the part that I really love to dive in when it comes down to the process of communication and knowledge. When dealing with business or, personal relationships, it's like there is a process there. There is a process. When you bring your energy to the table, Mike brings his energy to the table. I bring my energy to the table. We already have established that we're going to create something because we brought our energy. We brought our value. We brought our work. That is a part of the process, and that is communicated non-verbally. So, when we start talking about the process, let me just give you a real quick thought process on how a firefighter frames a call. All right. This is how a firefighter frames a call, especially a lieutenant or someone who's leading that truck. When the morning starts, he checks his truck out, he checks in with his crew, and then he preps his crew or a rookie for whatever may happen. That's step one. It's walking in the door. We're not talking about a call. Step two, when the tones go off, he listens and he hears whatever it is, whatever information that the dispatcher gives. Person, place, time, incident. All right. He's listening for all of those and any other cues that he can develop out of that. He's making a decision on what he will bring, what he will do. The next thing is he preps his body, gets inside the truck and makes sure his crew is there and ensures that his crew understands what they're going into. Mm-hmm. And then after that, they safely arrive. And now he does an initial assessment, which is prior to speaking to his patient. He does an assessment of the environment all the way around 360. Then he does an assessment of the local environment just around the individual who called and anyone else who may be on scene. And he does an assessment of the actual patient. What do they look like? What are they presenting with? Are they looking at me? Are they not looking at me, etc.? All right. So now after that, it flows into this conversation. There's communication exchange, and then there's knowledge exchange from that point on. But he has to start this process prior to getting to the patient. And so now that I've framed that, I want to say this. Before I get here to meet up with Mike, we are already processing what we will be doing. We are already taking time to think about it. We are already taking time to frame our mind to be ready for community beacon time. We are already bringing our energy into the room so that we are ready to speak. Everything is not some type of dialogue that we plan and prepare, but every time we are prepared by planning internally how we will respond to whatever happens inside of this, because we want this to be, we want it to be so natural that you are actually inside of our minds, our conversation. So there's no script. I'm not looking at a script up here to figure out what I want to say or how I'm going to say it. We have our titles, we have our themes, and then we're bringing it. Sometimes we have conversations, and sometimes we don't even talk about those conversations when we get here, because when we get here, the energy that we bring says, go this way. And that's just the spirit, right? That's the Lord stepping in. So communication and knowledge, the process of it, I wanted to dive into how it starts with me. It starts with yourself and how you pre-frame your day.
I love it, brother. I love it. Let me go over a couple of things, what I heard, and if I can add on to, if I may. You spoke about the energy that you have to bring, and we don't understand how important the energy it is. And not only just any kind of energy. And don't get me wrong, there's times when we show up and we're tired and we got a lot of things going on. We have, our mind may be someplace else, etc. But even more so, the importance of being open to the conversations, right? And then when you get there, your energy is at a point to where I need to show the brother that I'm open. That's one of the first things in this pre-gaming is what I call it, of the communication. The pre-gaming of the communication is that, okay, before I switch to community beacon mode, I want to be open to what is about to happen. I want to be present. One of the most powerful conversations that we've had on community beacon is talking about how presence is power. That's how you make your time powerful, is that you're present, your presence being powerful. So you want to pre-game it or start off the conversation with, for me, is just to be open. Listen, I need to be open to what the brother has to say. That helps a lot. That's number one. When we're doing this mastermind, when we're having these conversations, for me, I need to be open to what the brother has to say, right? And then then I wanted to get into like what exactly communication is, right? So when we talk about communication, I'm going to preface it before we even get into the knowledge of it. Communication, and this threw me for a loop when I found out, is 7% verbal. Okay, 7% verbal, 38% tonality, and 55% nonverbal, meaning how you're presented. You following me? So if that's the case, if it's only 7% verbal, then the way that we present it non-verbally, like you spoke about nonverbal, in regards to our visuals and even the tonality of how we say it. Now, go back to what I was saying in regards to being open, because if I know the brother is tired, I know the brother works a long day, et cetera, his tonality may not necessarily convey. Now, he doesn't 99% of the time. His tonality is going to convey his message. He's very good at that. But there's certain times when it's just like, hey, brother, I'm just not in it. And he makes a statement. And so as humans, the way that we interpret, oh man, I don't want to get too technical. But as humans, the way that we interpret things is this is not even, you have to be intentional, right? That's why I brought up being open-minded, because I need to be intentional about listening to what it is, and above all, that's exactly what I want to get at, is about, and regardless of being open-minded and the way that communication happens, I need to listen. Actually, be intentional about my listening, because on top of all of that, we tend as humans to filter out words because of our experiences. Right. So the brother could be saying one thing, and if I don't do this preemptive, this getting ready, I can listen to what it is he has to say. And because of my experiences, because of my biases, etc., I can interpret it a whole different way. But when you step into this community beacon, when you have a conversation with Joel, and for me to be accountable, to really be held accountable for everything, I need to say, be open. And the only way that I can be open is if I know, well, not the only way, but one of the best ways to be open is to know that the person on the other side has my best intentions in mind. Right. So I mean, I know I spoke about a lot, and we have like these different tiers in regards to communication, but this is important. This is something that I've been working on for, maybe really, really delved into for the last year to 2 years. Because we don't understand how many, it's just a miscommunication. You know what I mean? And these little miscommunications lead into crazy trajectories. You know what I mean? And different trajectories that we're going in. Our life could be, your life could have been different. Your life could have, and if we don't exactly learn from these different mistakes, because making a mistake in the way that we communicate things, or that we hear things, you know what I mean? It changes things. It may push you back. We have to learn from these different mistakes. We have to learn to communicate better, especially us as men. Especially us as men. You know what I mean? Because it starts with you guys. It starts with us. We go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
Yeah, man. Woo! Yes, sir. I love it because, man. It
was a mouthful. Okay. I apologize.
Yeah,
it was a lot.
Yeah, you opened that thing up, man. When you started to dig into communication and hearing, and then I know you didn't want to get too deep into that, but like, okay, so the difference between hear and listen. I don't know if you all remember the old movie White Men Can't Jump, and there's a particular part where Woody Allen and Wesley Snipes.
Yeah, you got it.
They're sitting inside of a drop top, and the car, I think it was a drop top, but the car was running. And who was it? Lenny playing? Or he's like you don't listen to him. You hear him. He's like, well, what's the difference between hearing? What's the difference? And he had this conversation about hearing and about listening. This is money. What Mike just opened up, this is money. This is the reason why so many people have difficulty communicating, because they're so busy hearing. Hearing is not enough. Let me tell you. Do you hear that tapping? That's just hearing. Hearing is all types of noise all around you, everywhere, every single day. You know, you hear the birds chirping and all this type of stuff. But when you actively listen, it means that you are focusing your attention to hear something specific. You want to know exactly what, in this case, the other person is communicating. So you are focusing your attention and you are drowning out all auxiliary noise. Because just hearing, so many people, they just sit in a room and they're just hearing, and then you say, did you hear what I said? They're like, yeah, I heard what you said. Well, they're not lying. They did hear it. But then when you ask them, can you repeat it, or can you give me any, tell me what you think? They have no clue, because all they did was hear it. They didn't internalize it, they externalized it. It tapped their ear, and then it just bounced off. So they know you were speaking. There's a movie, Finding Nemo. And there's this part where Nemo's dad, I think it's Marlin or something like that, his name Marlin, he's attempting to find Nemo. And he finds out that he's all the way in Australia and he's got to get there. So he meets up with a turtle, and this turtle is riding, I can't remember what it's called, but it's like this undercurrent. Yeah. And, you know, he's like this radical dude surfing, you know, and they make it fun, like he's going to surf it. And it's an expressway. So when he gets in there, and he's with the dad, the little baby comes up, and, you know, and he starts to talk with them. And Marlon looks at him, and he looks at everyone else. He says, is he speaking? I know he's speaking. I can hear him. I can see his lips moving, but I can't make out one word that he's saying. That's it, y'all. That's it. Sometimes all we're doing is looking at people's lips move. We ain't got one bit of what they were communicating at all.
Brother, and that's why when we get on here, and not even just get on here, just in general, right? Right, just in general, why our conversations, and I know sometimes you guys may get frustrated with us, and maybe we should preface this part of the show with almost all of our conversations. But this is how we get to this is how we get to the higher level conversations, is because we, like you mentioned, we're listening. Like, I'm listening to the brother. Like, we start off, I promise you guys, we start off every show like boom, 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 boom. But then, you know, like, this is what we're going to talk about. This is what we're going to talk about. And it might make it easier for you guys as audience viewers to hear what it is we have to say. But we don't necessarily get to the next level. We, you know, if we did that, if we just followed this format, we take our conversation to a higher level of conversation, because the brother says something, I get a chance to listen and critically think about what he said and say, whoa, well, brother, you said this, and now I'm thinking this. And then we take it to that level, and then I'll say something, and the brother say, okay, well, and then we do this. And then it just starts to go here. And by the time we're finished, if we all sat in a room, and there's a couple people like this, and that, you know, that I know anyways, and the brother's one of them. If 3-4 of us got in a room, by the time we left that room, like say we stuck ourselves in a room for about 3-4 hours. By the time, and it's happened before, and we come up with a business. There's a business idea, and we're off to the races making money. And this happened like when we first met each other. This is back in 2011, 2010, 2011. We sat in a room, and when we spent time with each other, by the time, you know, we finished, like, okay, we did this. And some of the events that we put together were still some of the biggest events that certain organizations had. The ideas that we put together, these guys still would talk about the idea, how we placed them together, because it's just critical thinking off of critical thinking. One of the reasons why a lot of us and our businesses are stuck, our personal life is stuck, is because we're just listening. We're just hearing, right? We're not listening to what our customers are saying. We're not listening to what our clients are saying. The brother started a new is doing his thing with financial literacy, and you guys need to go check him out. Like I said, I was there on Tuesday before last for the event, and now you're about to head to another event to get even, you know, to get more acclimated within this business. You're going for this mastermind, and I can guarantee you that the amount of value that you are, you know, you got people in there that are probably in their 10, 20, 30 years your senior. but the amount of value you're going to provide because of the openness and the listening that and the critical thinking that you're going to apply to this mastermind. And brother, correct me if I'm wrong, but this happens to you all the time. It's interesting because it's like now this light bulb is going off in my head is because of on the communication side of it is the amount of empathetic listening that you're doing and the ability to go into the critical thinking mode and not just let it end there, but saying, I need to figure out what the result is. Like, what's the result of this? Let's allow everyone to pull something out of this. What we're talking about now, this communication, what we're talking about now is what's going to take your lives to the next level. Right, guys? Like this is going to take you because this works out any kind of way. And I'm not just talking about money. I'm talking about actually having successful relationships, because over money, relationships is more important than money. I'm going to let you know that right now, because there's nothing there's certain relationships that you would not, they couldn't pay you to get away from because they're so important to you, right? There's certain relationships that you just couldn't pay. I heard someone say one day, they was like, I'm gonna tell you how relationships are more important than money. They said, well, tell me. They said, well, I'll give you $1 million right now. Sure. But your mother has to go. You're not giving up $1 million. You know, I would, you know, I lost my mother. I wouldn't give it up for nothing. You know what I mean? Because that relationship is worth way more than that. $1 billion. No, I'm fine.
That's right.
I want my mother. And this comes from someone who doesn't have their mother. I want my mom. You couldn't give me $1 billion. If they say, hey, Mike, you keep this $1 billion or your mother come, I'm going with my mother. You understand what I mean? It's that much more important. So,
and I'm going to be talking trash too. I can't believe that, boy.
But this is what's going to take it to the next level. I'm realizing, guys, this is why we're getting stuck in a lot of our things, is because we're doing this without going to the next level and having this critical thinking. Man, I wanted to go into this real quick, brother, but I want to give you a time to respond in regards to I guess, because I said a lot. I said a lot.
Yeah. I love that. I love that you went from critical thinking. You were like, listen to critical thinking. And that's like the process, right? So the process of communication and knowledge, you know, and being able to relate that into relationships or businesses, it is the critical thinking. And the thing about it is, it's like you get what you put into a computer. You know what I mean?
Yep.
If you put in enough hard drive, then you have plenty of hard drive to store stuff. If you don't put any hard drive in there, then you need to buy an external hard drive. You know, whatever you put into your computer, that's what you're going to get. You know, you're not going to get anything else, because the computer just cannot do that thought process on its own, and it just can't make its own whatever. All right. So the software you put in is the software you'll get out. The hardware you develop it with is the hardware that you'll be able to utilize. Absolutely. The same thing goes with the body and the mind. Your body is the hardware, and your mind is the palette, the soft palette that is absorbing whatever software you put in there. If all you're doing is putting in there, you know, TV, then guess what's going to be produced out of it? You know, you're going to produce TV. If you're putting into it books, if you're putting into it coaching, if you're putting into it relationships and love and commitment, if you're putting that type of stuff into it, guess what's going to come out? Relationships, love, commitment. You're going to want to lean into those types of discussions, as well as those types of relationships, both in business and with personal relationships, because that's what you put in. If what you're putting in is garbage, then you get garbage out. Garbage in, garbage out. Critical thinking is when you listen to somebody and you actually absorb what they're saying so that you can respond with knowledge. Because at the end of the day, it's about what are the results of this conversation.
Absolutely.
There's no reason to have a business if there's no results. If you're looking for results, don't get a business if you're just willing for it to watch it go plummet into the ground. No, you need results. You need to see uptick. Something needs to happen, or the business isn't working. And if it ain't working, it's probably because of somebody at the, you know, higher level. It's not delivering the message. And maybe someone at a lower level needs to deliver the message up top and say, hey, yo, you want to get this thing together because I'm ready to get some results here. Maybe that's what needs to happen. But critical thinking produces that type of knowledge. And it's the same thing with relationships. You ain't got no critical thinking, then the results you get are the results you put in. If you are not putting in commitment to your relationship, then guess what ships out of your relationship? Commitment. And people start walking all over the place, walking all over you, walking downtown, finding somebody else who's willing to be committed.
Let me add to the critical thinking portion as well, because you mentioned that, you know, the thing with the critical thinking thing is that I'm getting new information as well. Here's another issue that we have in relationships and life and business, etc., is that once you get new information, you need to use that to make the adjustment.
Ooh.
So if I'm talking to Joel, and Joel is and I'm telling him what it is, I know he says, "Oh, brother," and from my portion, and he adds something to it, and that I didn't know. Now I get this new information, and guess what? I might have to change. I may change my entire model. I might, because if he's giving me some information that's showing that's what's more effective, or how something is not effective, or whatever it is, then I get a chance to think critically how and applying it to my business, this new information. And you have to be not biased enough or not attached to it enough to where you're like, I'm doing it out of spite or doing it out of just ego, etc. Like you have to bring all that stuff in, and the ego is a whole different thing. And then we talk about the knowledge part, because I know we spoke about community, which is very, very important, the communication portion of the process of communication. Let's talk about the knowledge, which is gaining more knowledge. And it's interesting that we're talking about it now, but there's synchronicity to it, is that I'm on Chronicles in the Bible. And this is when, you know, Solomon is taking over the reins from David. David has passed at this point. And so God asked Solomon, you know, because his servant David has done so much for him, you're the new king, etc. What is it that I can give you? What is it that you want? And I got it right here in front of me. It says, "Give me now wisdom and knowledge, that I may go out and come in before this people. For who can judge this thy people that is so great?" Right? And then God said, because Solomon, because it was in your heart, and you didn't ask me for riches, wealth, or honor, nor the life for your enemies, neither yet has asked long life, but as asked wisdom and knowledge thyself, that I might make judges over my people, over whom I have made these king. Wisdom and knowledge granted unto thee. And then he gave everything in addition to it. You have to continuously learn and progress in life and gain this wisdom. Because if you gain the wisdom, if you gain understanding, I'll put on there as well, but that's a part of it. If you gain this knowledge, and that knowledge turns into wisdom, because you're actually doing the thing, right? The experience. Like if you start to, everything else is just a byproduct of it. Like riches and wealth and all that, like that, and to be honest with you, we put such an emphasis on riches and wealth, etc. Like there's a huge emphasis on it because, you know, I hate to say it, but it's become the idol in today's society. You know what I mean? Money and these materialistic things have become an idol all to themselves. But if you have this knowledge and this, like that can't be taken away from you. You know, that's given to you, and just the fact of you just having to improve upon it. Like knowledge is important. You should always, in whatever industry you're in, you should be seeking to understand, seeking to gain knowledge within the industry. What's the newest? What are the best practices? What are the better practices? You're going to this mastermind, like you could have been in this company and it could have just been it. They could have said, "Listen, Joel, this is what we learned over the last 100 years, right? Here's a book of what we learned over the last 100 years. Go learn it, and that's it." No, you're going to where you're going so that you can learn, so that you all can get together and figure out, okay, what do we need to do now? Like we got our foundation, but how do we, you know, what are some newer strategies? What's working over here? What can we do over here? How can we change this? How can we do this? It's a constant learning. It's a constant getting better. Learning doesn't stop when you get a diploma or you get your degrees or whatever it is. Life is just continuously learning.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Man, that was beautiful. That quote that you were mentioning also out of Chronicles, it reminded me of, and then you started to tap on it with all that get understanding. Yeah. It's like, so like building this into the process. Okay, so 11-year-olds, 10-year-olds, 9, 8, 7, 6, whatever, as well as the parents. Whenever you're communicating to your children, tapping into their understanding, getting commitments from your children when they don't know how to say that they understand, teaching them how to understand, teaching them how to log information, especially when they're really young. It's simple because children they're absorbing whatever you give them. So it's easy to teach them when they're really, really young. If we had Liddy Paul on here, she would give you some examples, but it's real simple. So you say to your 5-year-old, you're like, hey, listen, don't touch the stove because it's hot. Do you understand? And of course, they're going to shake their head. Okay, so they shake their head. So you say, repeat after me. I will not touch the stove because it's hot and it may hurt my hands or may hurt my body or it may hurt me. Now, when they repeat that, you just gave them an understanding. Now you can compare that understanding. You remember when you stubbed your toe? It hurts like that, only worse. And then you may see a little frown on their face because they do remember stubbing their toe. And if that's what hurt feels like, they definitely don't want to burn their hand. So now we're inserting understanding into a child who does not understand what understanding is. Now, as you start to grow older, of course, you're not going to use as rudimentary ways. But now when you're speaking with someone, you say, do you understand? They're always going to remember that lesson from 5 years old. And they're going to remember understanding means that I need to repeat this and I need to internalize this. As you become of age, you're now understanding things at a rapid pace and you can increase your critical thinking. You just upgraded your RAM inside of your brain. Now you're moving because you're able to hear somebody say something one time, internalize it, and then go do it because that's all you needed. You understood the properties of what it was and the value of what it was. So you're able to do it immediately. This is the process of the communication because at the end of the day, what we're looking for is results.
Yeah.
I wanted to jump into that. That was that last thing that you have mentioned. Results. That's what we're looking for. With all that get understanding, that is exactly what it's about. It's like learn critical thinking skills so that you can produce the results that you're looking for. It's very, very simple. But if we're not producing the results, then that means that we haven't done enough critical thinking. And it doesn't mean that we're not smart. Sometimes it just means that we don't understand it. And what does that mean we need to do? The brother just said it. Gain more knowledge. Whether that's through experience, through a book, through a coach, through environment, I don't know, whichever one it is. We've talked about this multiple times. But do one.
Repeat those three things again, brother. Whether it's through a coach, whether it's through a book, or whether it's through environment.
Yep. Coach, book, environment.
Let's talk. I don't know how much time we have, but delve into the environment part of it. The reason why, because we do a lot of studying. I know me and the brother do a lot of studying. We also do a lot of history. Like we're going back, we're looking at figures in history. I've always been a history guy. Like, hey, you catch me, I'd read history books for fun when I was in college. I was just reading books for the sake of reading. They knew me. FAMU didn't have enough books for me. I had to go to the FSU library. That's how I would just spend my time going into the library because FAMU didn't have enough books in the library at the time, right? So I go to FSU library for a big, huge 4 or 5 story library, and I'm in there just reading books and checking them out. Any books that you're not supposed to read, supposedly, according to modern day society, and books that, you know, are some of the most popular books. I've always enjoyed it. I always, especially in regards to history and what kind of thoughts. And here's the thing with that I've understand, and going back to the biblical references, that there's nothing new under the sun. So a lot. If you think you're doing something new, it's been done before. Platforms may change, you know, we got Facebook, blah, 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 but there was always different forms, and people learn to understand the same way through talking, through seeing, through reading, right, and hearing, right? You had the radio, you had the TV, et cetera, et cetera. So we've seen advances in those. I said all that to say this. The brother mentioned it as well. It's not hard. Like, it's not necessarily rocket science. Like, a lot of the things, there's rocket scientists out there, and if you're passionate about that type of stuff, those things you enjoy, etc. But to have successful communication and businesses, it's not rocket science. That's why you see guys who go broke, or their businesses go bankrupt, or they lose their business, and they can start another successful business. They can make another X amount of money because they have the knowledge, they have the understanding. But more so, they also have the environment. What's killing us the most is dealing in an environment in which we are not growing. Yeah. We cannot be talking about the same thing that we spoke about 10 years ago that we're talking about now. Now, that's not to say you can't be disappointed in things. I'm always disappointed. I'm disappointed in this. Like, are we still doing this? Like, is this still happening and then occurring? So I'm disappointed in it. But just understanding self and understanding that growing, as long as I'm in a growing atmosphere, and I'll take my time out to be disappointed in certain things. But you know, it happens. I'm human, right? But the continuous progress of saying, brother, we just can't be doing the same thing over and over again. But your environment plays a lot of part. A lot of people, and I'm going back to it, are stuck in a loop. You know, this goes all the way back to your interview on Wednesday, when you get into depression, these self-inflicting wounds, this self-fulfilling prophecy of you just continuously doing the same thing over and over again, being very reactive to certain environments, engaging in lower vibrational conversations and activities. Like, this is you putting yourself in. This is where you have to take accountability for it, saying, okay, I'm done with this. I need to raise my environment. Once again, brother, I keep bringing this up, but that's why you are going to this. You're going to get this to the mastermind, or you're going on your trip, because you're getting out of a loop. Nothing wrong with what's going on over here. I totally respect that, but I know that. I know when I go into this place, we're going to be watching this show. We're going to be watching. I love it. You're right. Well, like, we know we're going to be doing that. I understand it. I've done it, and it's fine. It pays the bills. It paid the bills. It's done well for me. There's nothing negative I have to say about it. It's not negativity. What I'm saying is, I've seen that. I know there's something else, and I know this is a pathway to get there. All I got to do is get out of my comfort zone, this over here, which I can do every day. And then I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to be going back to the listening. I'm going to listen. I'm going to be open. I'm going to contribute when it's time for me to contribute. I'm going to do some critical thinking. I'm going to see how I can apply it to myself, this new information, right? And then in the hopes of, and not in the hopes of, but really going towards getting that result. And hey, when I come back from it, I may fall on my face, but I'm going to get back up, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to apply it. I'm going to give it a different nuance, because now I've put it within myself, and I'm going to get there. But eventually, just continuously persevering, going back to the Bible, right? It's not for the swift. This race is not for the swift. It's not for the strong. It's for those that persevere. That's life. So as long as I wake up every day and I have another chance, another day, another way, I'm going to get this thing right, as long as I apply myself and I apply this new information, and continuously get this wisdom. And it all started from just listening and being open. Oh my gosh.
Power. This was the power hour, y'all. Power hour, y'all. This is a good conversation. that, man, I love to dive into some more, because when you start to bring up discipline and perseverance, I like, man, but I think that's another show, brother. Because like you said, plane flight is definitely calling.
Yeah. Man, brother, this is definitely, guys, and I'm telling you, we didn't know. Like, we don't know, but it's just building off each ideas, man. So, man, I definitely appreciate it. I think this is definitely time well spent, brother.
Yeah, 100%. You know, and I mean, and just for all of you all out there, remember, that's what the Community Beacon is all about.
Yeah.
You know, it's about us bringing what we are doing that's working, what we're learning, and even some of our failures. You know, because we do use this as a mastermind. So sometimes there's something in here that I may learn from Mike, and if I don't learn it here, I may learn it on his on his show on Monday, because I've clocked in on the show What It Takes, and I'm just sitting there like burning in my chest, like, yeah, that's it right there. And I call the brother up or send him a text. I'll be like, hey, can you send me that document that you showed? Because that's what I need. I need a little more of that in my life. And the thing about it is, like, that's a mindset that we have. It's a growth mindset. So those of y'all who are listening to this, your mindset should be a growth mindset. If you're sticking around, it's because you got a growth mindset. And what we aim to do is bring higher levels of, like Mike was saying, vibration, intensity, knowledge, spirituality. We intend to bring that every single time, because that's a show of our own growth. It's not because of you. You get the benefit. And if you don't see any benefit, then you don't have to, go to our thing and then unclick it.
Don't unclick it.
Mike said, don't do it. We want
You can mute it. Don't unclick it, though. Mute us, but don't unclick
it. Oh man, but we definitely love having the fans, listen to me try to walk it back. I mean, but that's for sure. Mike, it's crazy, man. I've been getting called out in stores. Just it was crazy. I got called out on the show. Anna was there with me, and I had no clue that this individual was going to say what they said. And I was just like, I was a little floored, because people are watching what we're doing, and they are appreciative. And that is why we are here. That's it. So, as my leader would say, that's exactly opposite of what I just said. Just stay here. Don't go anywhere. And when it hits, it'll hit, and it'll kick, and it'll turn up a notch. Because remember, we can't change you, and you can't change us. But the thing about it is, when we start to change ourselves, life becomes limitless.
Absolutely. Guys, I think it was time well spent. That's a mic dropper right there. I think you want to close it out?
All right, let's get out of here then. Hey, y'all, we love to have y'all here. Community Beacon. Remember, like, love, comment, share, hit the notification button so you know when we are airing. And we will see you on next week, where we are still having a conversation about communication and knowledge in relationships or business. Peace.
Absolutely.